And welcome into the John Neighbors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in and watching in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Neighbors, and appreciate all of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Lots of things to talk about today, and hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend. And we did move the time back or forward. I don't even know how to say that. I always get confused by it. But either way, we're starting at 6 o'clock for the live stream of the show here tonight. A lot of you have expressed that you would rather it be later in the night so you could catch it live. And since it's the summertime and I'm always toying with things and experimenting with things and trying new things, I decided that, hey, let's give it a shot. So who knows? Maybe this week we'll do it all at 6 o'clock every single night and see how it goes. See how, if you guys like it. If you don't like it, just let me know. But I'm trying some new things just to try to get some feedback and make sure that we're covering all the bases that we possibly can. But either way, appreciate all of you. I know we got a loaded show. We're going to have Chris Gordy on later, talk a little college football with him. We'll also talk about some college baseball and some teams that I really don't want to win the College World Series. But I wanted to start the show today with a little bit of basketball talk because we are going to do football and baseball, but basketball still is something worth mentioning and worth talking about. Now, it was funny because today, the thing with Danny Hurley and the Lakers job and all that went by the wayside. Like, it's not happening. He turned down the Lakers, and he's going to be returning to UConn. I don't think it's surprising. I still think there was a lot of gamesmanship. I think there was a lot of games being played in this whole thing. So either way, I think that at the end of the day, they had some things that, maybe they wanted to work through and make sense. But for the Lakers and for the UConn Huskies, it's like moving on or anything. But anyways, that doesn't matter because there was always this talk from a lot of Kentucky fans. I think we're hopeful about Cal going to UConn if Hurley left. And now I started to see some things from Kentucky media and fans of like, oh, well, there is a coach that really always wanted to coach LeBron and Anthony Davis, and of course, meaning Cal, and that he could possibly go to the Lakers. And I still think, it's nonsense. I do, as far as him leaving. So I don't think you have anything to fret on that. But it's amazing to me how so many Kentucky fans or just fans in general may see or go after some Razorback fans because of the excitement that they have for John Calipari. Because let's be honest, just here on Natty State Sports, every single time that we've posted something or talked about something dealing with basketball, it is hit like nobody's business. The Pot at the Palace with Curtis and Scotty has been incredible. The numbers that it's done and the consistency that they've had in it and them breaking it down and talking about it, it really showcases the excitement level that Razorback fans in general have for basketball and for Calipari and the players that have been added and the players that are returning. And you're getting closer and closer to the entire roster being filled and finalized to at least we can know what's going to be coming of it moving forward. But I will say that seeing some of the responses from people just being like, oh, you're getting excited about what Cal tweeted out. Well, he's been saying those things for 15 years. Good luck with that. Okay. I'm going to use, I guess, Kentucky as an example, but also correlate it to a Razorback example too. Folks, I don't think anybody really truly understands in the moment how tough it is to be great, how tough it is to win a championship, but also consistently be great, be in the conversation, be right there on the cusp. Like, how many sports, we can use the Razorback example, but how many sports do you feel like, honestly, truly, that you are set up for at the University of Arkansas to win a national championship in, where you have all the amenities, you have the funding, you have the support, you have the facilities, everything across the board, recruiting, all of that. Like, how many sports do you feel like Arkansas could win a championship in? Just being honest. Some of you may have a different answer, but to me, I have felt like Arkansas has literally everything that they need in every sport, maybe besides football. I'm still hopeful for football, but I'm also trying to be realistic in football. They have enough to be a solid, good to even great program, but to be a national championship, best program, top 5 program in the country, year in and year out, I think is asking too much. But they pretty much have everything that they need in every other sport to win a national championship. So how many championships have they won? I mean, they've won 1 in basketball. They've won 51 in track, which we'll talk about here in a second. But overall, for all those sports, I think 19 sports and 18 of them, I think they have everything that they need. They've only won championships in just a handful of them. But yet they're set up to. They have the potential to possibly do it. So what's the problem? What's gone wrong? What's been different? Well, I mean, we could spend all day talking about the reasons that you could or could not win a championship, and people could agree or disagree. But the point is that I'm trying to make is that it is hard. It is so hard. Even Nolan Richardson, the great Nolan Richardson, where he won a championship with Arkansas, he talked about this, I believe it was in the 40 Minutes of Hell deal. He mentioned that there's a time where you create a monster in the program. And when you create that monster, you got to feed it. And sometimes if you don't feed it, it'll eat you. That's pretty much the example that he was setting and that he was referring to. And what he really means by that is exactly what in some ways happens, maybe happened to him, but also happens in sports. You create a monster, you set the precedent, you set the expectation, but if it's not being fed at the same level and the same height, then it's going to turn on you. And I think that's what happened essentially with Kentucky and Kentucky basketball. Kentucky is one of the best basketball programs in the country. They have won championships. They've done it all. But as I try to bring up with people, and we'll find out if this happens, but was it really about Cal or was it really about Kentucky? I think the combination of both is extremely helpful, but there was a time where Kentucky did struggle a little bit, in the later years of Tubby Smith, the Billy Clyde Gillespie years. It's tough. It's tough. And they got Cal, and it all was incredible. But there's no reason, at least right now, to believe that they're going to be even better or perform better consistently with Mark Pope. It's just a lot to ask. And that's, I think, where Razorback fans are excited, because some Kentucky fans are like, oh, you just have a lower expectation than what we do here at Kentucky. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's a lower expectation. I think Razorback fans are in a different understanding than what Kentucky fans are. Kentucky fans, by and large, still feel like they can win a national championship or go to a Final Four each and every year. And if anything has been proven in March Madness, in the NCAA tournament, you never know what to expect. You never know what's going to happen. And so there could be a rude awakening for those fans as they see what Mark Pope does. It may end up being pretty terrible, or it may end up not working out, or it may be kind of lower than what they were doing with Cal. And they're going to shake their fist and be like, well, fire this guy and we'll move on. But people are going to remember, too, about Cal. The whole adage, you never really realize what you have until it's gone. It could potentially do that. Now, I could be saying this from the perspective of a Razorback fan kind of making fun of Kentucky or making fun of the situation that they're in. And maybe there is a little element of that. But this goes for you too, Razorback fans. This goes for you too. I think specifically with baseball and Dave Van Horn, there's been a lot of criticism over the lack of postseason success over the past 2 seasons. No question. No question. You've been back-to-back years of a national seed. In fact, 3 of the past 4 years that you've been a national seed, you've yet to make it to Omaha. You were a 1 seed in 2021. You were the 3 seed in 2022. And you were the 5 seed this past year. You've yet to make it at Omaha in those years. But the year that you weren't even a top 16 seed is when you went to the College World Series. That's what it's defined by. That's what the success is defined by. We all get that. But anybody that thinks that they just need to move on from Dave Van Horn, or Dave's never going to do it and they just need to move on from it, I want to put this into perspective and make it extremely clear. That's dumb. Because anybody that thinks that they can just magically build up a program or pick up right where they left off and be even better because, Dave Van Horn's not here, so we've hit his pinnacle, we got to move on, is ludicrous. It'd be different if Dave was struggling across the board. Recruiting wasn't there. The on-field success during the year wasn't there. The excitement wasn't there. The attendance was going down. Like, that would be different, but it's not. Yes, the postseason is where it's all defined and what makes you and makes or breaks you as a coach and as a program. I get that. I understand it. I agree with it. I respect it. But the fact that Arkansas has had so much regular season success shows you that the program health is still really good. Arkansas is still nationally relevant. They're one of the top programs in the country. So to think that you just move on from a coach and things just get better is not always the case. We've seen that happen. Even at Arkansas, I know that it was different circumstances, but when Nolan Richardson moved on from Arkansas, the Razorbacks were in purgatory for nearly 20 years. Until Eric Musselman arrived, until things started looking better for them, and now with Cal, there was a little bit of a purgatory there. And it's been unfortunate. And you could say the same thing about football. I remember I was blind enough and arrogant enough to think, well, Bobby Petrino, I love Bobby Petrino. I still don't think he should have been fired. That's just me. But when he was, and I was like, well, Arkansas is still a dadgum good program. Because look what they did. Look what they've done. They're on top of the world. They're one of the top 20 programs in the country. And since then, it's kind of been also a little bit of a purgatory for Razorback football too. Point is that you don't understand how difficult it is. So when you have something great, when you have a unicorn, when you have a rock star that is constantly churning out competitiveness at the highest level, don't ever think that you're better than that. Don't ever think that you're better to just move on because they do 98% great, elite. But that 2% up there that'll get you that 100% success, which is without question very important. But that 2%, if they can't get to that, then they need to be fired or you need to move on because somebody just magically will be able to come right in and change that. It's not so easy, folks. It's not so easy. So just keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind when it comes to Razorback athletics, when it comes to Razorback sports. Never miss out. Always hold on to that golden goose because you never know what's going to change and you never know what's going to happen and you never know when you're going to be missing out on the things that you wish you had. Just trust me, as a Razorback fan, I know. How many times do we talk about the past? How many times do we talk about, well, we wish it used to be? That's what happens when you make a wrong decision in any athletic program. That's for sure. We'll continue the discussion here in just a second, folks, but I got to tell you about our friends over at Hopper Termite and Pest here in Arkansas. Listen, we know it's that time of year. Pests are going to be all over the place, like rodents, roaches, mosquitoes, especially flies. They're everywhere. It's that time of year. So don't let it continue to boil over. Take care of business, get it fixed, and get it done by the professionals over at Hopper Termite and Pest. They have a tried and true solution, and it's going to eradicate many of the common pests and work for many weeks before it ever need to be reapplied. They're the best in the business, and it even lasts during the weather elements, during the rain. It's going to work. And they can take care of spiders, carpenter ants, centipedes, rodents, moles, mosquitoes, cockroaches, wasps, silverfish, fleas, ticks, everything, they got you. And the best thing about it is not only are they going to get you taken care of and get you squared away, but they do it for residential as well as business. So if you call them today at 479-750-4070 and you use Natty State Sports, that I heard it from Natty State Sports, they're going to give you $50 off your first treatment. You're not going to get a better deal than that anywhere else when it comes to how great it's going to be, as well as the discount that you get. You just call them at 479-750-4070. Tell them that the boys from Natty State sent you, and they'll hook you up with a $50 gift card or $50 discount off your first treatment. You can also visit their website at callhopper.com. But no matter what it is, when it comes to your pest, get rid of them quickly as possible, as much as possible, and especially in the summertime to protect your family, do it with Hopper Termite and Pest. Again, we're talking about the championships and how difficult it is to compete for one, how difficult it is to win to one. And I'm not doing this all to scold Razorback fans. I'm really not. I'm not doing it to talk down to any of you or to, act like any sort of criticism you throw the way that people are above it all. Like, I'm not doing that at all. I am just saying that there are plenty of things that you can be concerned about, that you could be upset about, that you could be frustrated with across the board in everything. But I don't think you taking for granted the success, the consistent high-level success, is something that's ever worth the risk of moving on from. I felt that way with Petrino. I felt it at the time. Like, still do. But you had a top 10 coach in Bobby Petrino when he was here in 2010 and 2011. You did. I think that he proved that time and time again. And overall, sorry guys, my neck's bothering me. It's been bothering me a lot. So if I look weird when I'm dancing on here, that's why. But he was one of the best coaches in the country and in the SEC. I mean, you went 21-5 in 2 seasons. You went to the Sugar Bowl back when going to a BCS bowl game was an insane honor, because that proved that you were one of the top, you were the second best team in the SEC, in some cases the first best team in the SEC. And we all know that game went out. But just think, like, you went 21-5 where you changed quarterbacks, you changed tight ends, you had some players move on from the defensive side. Like, you were able to do that. And I don't care what anybody says, because I believe it's wrong, and I will argue with anybody till the cows come home on this. People who believe that Bobby Petrino's recruiting was falling off, or that it was no longer astute or to the level it needed to be, needs to check themselves into a mental hospital, folks. Like, I'm not saying that it was perfect, but I think that's just almost an excuse that people try to make themselves feel better on. When it's like, oh, well, Petrino couldn't sustain success because the recruiting was dropping off. Are you kidding me? First off, he had Brandon Allen as his quarterback, which we know that Bobby Petrino can coach quarterbacks better than anybody, and Brandon Allen is a great quarterback. I think he could have been even better. He was great his final year at Arkansas, but I think he could have been even better if he had the right coach in place instead of Chaney in the first couple of years under Brett Bielema than ever. Like, I really think that could have been the case. So you're going to have a great quarterback. But think about some of the best players that Bielema had because of the Petrino era. Jonathan Williams, great running back. He was recruited by and signed by Bobby Petrino. How about a guy like Trey Flowers? How about him? Chris Smith, rest in peace. How about him? Think about Tevin Mitchell, how great he was. Think about that offensive line. Travis Swanson being on the offensive line. Bray Cook. Think about the wide receivers. I know we didn't get to see a whole lot of them, especially from the Petrino era, mind you, but like Keon Hatcher, Mikhail McKay, I think he would have stayed on at Arkansas. Marquell Wade, I think if he, who knows what would have happened, but he still would have been on those teams. But been great. You think about, other positions too that he did a great job at, and a lot of them were so crucial. Darius Philon, I can't forget him. Like, that was a Petrino signee. So I don't buy the fact that Petrino was just giving up on recruiting and just mailing it in, and it wasn't going to be as good. Because I think about it where that Arkansas team in 2014 went 7-6, and it wasn't. And the reason they even did that well is because of the defense. If they had an offense that was consistent, they may have gone 10, 11 wins, maybe even more, if you really think about it. They were that good. So my point is like, you look back on that time, and ever since then, how long it's taken you to get back to even close to mimicking that. Now, Petrino's back as the offensive coordinator. Maybe that works out. I think it'd be a little bit premature to expect similar success to what you had in 2010, 2011. Be nice, but I don't think you should expect that. But if there was a way that this is my opinion, but if there was a way you could have kept Bobby Petrino on staff as the head coach way back when, you should have done it. Because seeing what we see now and knowing what we know now, I would have loved to have seen what Petrino could have done for another 2 or 3 years. Who knows? Maybe he would have moved on. Maybe he would have gone to another job. Maybe he would have been fired for something else. Maybe. But I would have loved to have seen what that could have been, what that could have looked like. And the reason that is because I've seen what it has looked like. and it's not been great. Folks, since that point, Arkansas has had 1 year, 1 season where they've gone over 500 in SEC play, and that was in 2015, which should have been a much better year, but since you lost to Texas Tech and Toledo in the non-conference, you went 7-5. You've had 1 year where you've won more SEC games than you've lost. Since that point in time, you've had 1 season that you went 500, 4-4, and that was in 2021. Every other year, you've been and had a losing record in SEC play. 2012, you went 2-6. You went 0-8 and 13. You went 2-6 and 14. In 16, you went 3-5. In 17, you went 1-7. 18-19, you went 0-8 back-to-back years as Chad Morris. Technically, you went 3-7 in SEC play in 2020 because of the 10-game SEC schedule, but even if you correlate that to 3-5, if the schedule would have stayed the same, you still losing record. You went 3-5 in 2022, and this past year, you went 1-7. I still would have loved to have seen what that could have been. But I'm saying all that to reiterate the fact and reiterate the point that anytime you have a coach that is that good, that is constantly one of the top 5, top 10, even top 15, even top 20 teams, programs, coaches in the country every single year. Anytime you have that, you milk it and you do whatever it takes to keep that coach happy, motivated, encouraged, and giving them all the pieces to be successful. You have to do it. Because if you don't, and you think that you can be better and you think you can move on, it's not always a surefire thing. Sure, there have been some programs that it's worked out for. I think LSU is one of the prime examples of it. They've won 3 national championships with 3 different coaches over the past 20 years. And they have a new coach right now that already has a Heisman Trophy winner and could potentially at least be competing for a national championship. So yeah, some programs, some coaches, you go from one to the other and you pick up right where you left off. But there are some programs that you haven't. Like Miami. How long has it been since they've been nationally relevant? Ever since the Butch Davis and Larry Coker days. USC's been teetering a little bit, but how much have they been relevant since the Pete Carroll days? Those are programs that are phenomenal. What about Oklahoma? Been all right so far. It's still early with Brent Venables, but I mean, have they captured the same consistent success that Bob Stoops provided for them? Or even Lincoln Riley was providing for them? Think about Ohio State. They've been still pretty solid, but, you know, Ryan Day is getting a lot of heat. They think that they can do better, but they haven't fired him because I think it'd be a bad decision. But the point is, when you have somebody, when you got some greatness coming your way, stick with it. Ride it out. Milk it. Because there is nothing worse. There is nothing sadder in life, especially as sports fans of respective teams, than having to look back upon 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago and saying, man, I wish we wouldn't have moved on. I wish that guy or that girl was still the coach. I would have loved to have seen that. Because you know who and what type of programs do that? Programs that have suffered ever since. Nobody looks upon the glory days of 10, 15, 20 years ago if they're highly successful in picking up right where they left off. You know what I've heard less of these days, especially during the 3 years of Eric Musselman? I heard a lot less about Nolan Richardson, the national championship team, than I ever had before. You know what I heard a lot less about in the past few year spans, even in baseball? People talking about the 04 or the 09 or the 2012 World Series. Those are great. But when you're competing, when you're there, you're not talking about the glory days as much. You're in the glory days. So that's what it takes. And that's my whole point when it comes to anything. And Razorback fans, I think you're set. I think you're in a good spot. You know, we'll see what Sam Pittman does in football this year. Dave Van Horn's still the man. Still one of the greatest and best coaches in the country. We know. But I'm just using this as kind of a further reminder and to help you guys out. Never take success for granted in any sport. Don't wish to move on simply because of one step, the final step, the biggest step, the greatest step is yet to be taken because you keep knocking on the door, but yet you're unable to bust in just yet. Don't move on from that. Don't think you're better than that. Patience. Hold on to it for dear life. Because at a place like Arkansas, if it's gone, man, oh man, it is so hard to get it back. It's just a friendly reminder to all of you fans out there. Folks, we know that there's a lot of great stuff going on in the sports world, but with our friends over at BroThrow, you want to get to winning some money on some of these sporting events, right? The NBA Finals going on right now. The Celtics taking care of business. 2-0 is what they're up over the Dallas Mavericks. And thanks to BroThrow.com/Natty, I've been able to win some money. It's a great thing. If you go online and you go to BroThrow.com/Natty and you join the official Natty State Sports group, you can check out how much fun it can be betting up against not only your friends, but real people, because that's what they offer for you at BroThrow. You make bets with your friends all the time. I do. And anytime that you do it may not be as official. Maybe like, oh, well, I was just kidding about it, or oh, I was drunk or whatever. Well, not with BroThrow, because it locks it in for you. If you get on there, you can make the bet. And for instance, right now, the Celtics, for the Wednesday night game in Game 3, they are 2-point underdogs in the game against the Mavericks. So if you think that the Celtics are going to take care of business in that game too, and also go up 3-0 in this series, then go to BroThrow.com and bet on it. And then you can go up against somebody else. Like right now, I'm looking at it. Ryan has $25 on the Mavericks at -2. If you think the Celtics are going to roll, you get on there and you bet your $25 to say the Celtics are going to win and cover that +2 spread. So point is, you can have fun with it, and you save a ton in the juice. This isn't some sort of house that takes a lot of the money or a big percentage of the money like BroThrow continues to say that they don't do, because they don't. Like, that is what makes them better. That's what makes it fun, is that they're always able to provide you as much savings as possible where the money is the money, and it saves up. And they even have a little bit of a meter that tells you the more you bet, the more money you save in the juice, and you're still winning that money. So check it out today at BroThrow.com/Natty. That's BroThrow.com/Natty. You can also enter in the code Natty. It'll take you right to the group where we can admit you on there. You can start having fun in the Natty State Sports community. And as a reminder, it's free to sign up. You must be 21 years or older, and there's no VIG. Pays even money out. So go check it out today. It's BroThrow.com/Natty, official partner of Natty State Sports.